Hello lovely people, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are well. I am okay. I'm just very warm. I love this weather. Not. But enough of me and my weather woes. We're here to talk about another nervous guide video. I didn't film anything last week, too hot and ran out of time basically. So we're coming back with some nervous guides and reviews for shows that I've seen very recently, starting with this, the Nervous Guide to the Addams Family. Da-da-da-da. I had to get it in. So if you want to know everything you need to know about the show before you go in, stick around and we'll get into it in 2 whole seconds. So yes, we are back with another nervous guide. If you are new here, then get ready, strap yourself in, because we have to do the little spiel we do. For every show that I see, I like to do 2 separate videos. The first one being the nervous guide. This video, as I just said, this video is basically everything you need to know before you go in. So that could be content warnings, sensory warnings, information about the show, information about the theatre, things you need to know before you go to the show. And then the second video that I do is the review. The review is always in inverted commas because at the end of the day I am in no way professional. I just spout words at a camera and then put it on the internet. That is basically all I'm doing. I love theatre with all my heart, and I tend to go 9 times out of 10, although this one and the next one I will have been with someone, but I tend to go alone. And obviously when you go with a friend you get to chat about the show afterwards, things you enjoyed, things you didn't enjoy, people you enjoyed, people you didn't enjoy, things about the creative side that you really enjoyed, etc. And if you go alone you haven't got that, so I do this. There we go. That is pretty much everything that you need to know about me and seeing shows. So yeah, this is the Nervous Guide. The Nervous Guide varies, but usually, as previously mentioned, we do sensory content and such, and for some reason sometimes toilets. So let's start with the theatre itself and with the seat, etc. I'm not actually going to talk about the toilets today because I did go, but a toilet's a toilet. I went to see this show at the Birmingham Hippodrome. It has now finished its run there and it is moving on to Leicester and the Leicester Curve, which always sounds wrong because I always feel like it should be the Curve Leicester. Is it the Leicester Curve? Curve Leicester. I have friends in Leicester, I should just ask them instead of the internet, but alas. So yeah, this is a UK tour, very rared, that was in English, a very wide range of tour locations. So like I said, Birmingham Hippodrome had it first. It's now moving on to the Leicester Curve between the 15th of July and the 10th of August, then the Lowry and Salford between the 12th and the 16th of August, then Canterbury between the 19th and 23rd of August, then Blackpool Opera House between the 26th of August, 26th and 30th of August. Why Leicester Curve has it for so long I do not know. Let's talk my seat at the Hippodrome. I plucked for one of the cheaper tickets still available. So we were in the circle, we were row U, and I think our seats were 13 and 14. As always, I like to put a little view of my seat from here. The view, we pretty much saw everything. There's a couple of times that Lurch's head got cut off, unfortunately, when they were at the top of the pyramid-like structure that they have on stage, but we missed nothing. There was a little bit of chaos during our performance. The show had to be stopped at one point for something happening in the audience in the stalls. I don't know what happened. There has been various reports posted here and there, but we're not going to talk about that now. But there was a show stop. But saying that, the front of house were very respectful. I mean, everyone in that kind of situation is very much like, oh, what happened, on their exit out, and the front of house are very much like, I don't know, but everybody is safe and everything's okay. And that's the way you need to be. The seat was pretty comfortable, leg room wasn't too bad. Overall, I can't complain. I have sat pretty much up there previously for different shows at the Hippodrome. I feel like apart from a couple on the like outskirts of certain parts of Circle and also certain parts of the stalls, there isn't a bad view at the Hippodrome. I personally prefer the stalls at the Hippodrome, but I'm not fussy, which is why I was in the Circle this time round. And like I said, I bought one of the cheaper tickets still available because this wasn't my first time seeing this show. Spoiler alert for the review. Moving on from the seat and the theatre, let's get into content and sensory stuff, because it also kind of links in with the fact that I've seen this show previously. If you don't know, I always try and get it in, but for me personally, and the reason I do these videos is to help on the sensory side, because for me, I am not a fan of a lot of flashing lights, really loud noises, gunshots, visible guns, visible weapons, etc. In this show, I pretty much knew what was happening, so nothing was a great shock, and I am probably going to miss out a few things because, like I said, I knew what was coming, so it was less in my brain that I needed to remember certain things content wise. And with the help of Google AI, which is always my favourite, because I put in sensory warnings for the Addams Family, they put the Addams Family may contain sensory elements such as haze, fog, smoke and pyrotechnic display. Haze, yes. Fog, to a point, yes. Smoke from this side of stage a couple of times. Pyrotechnic displays, no, not for ours anyway, not for this UK tour, and I don't think for any UK version of the show that I have seen. The show includes mature content like sexual humour, references to death and torture, infrequent swearing. Additionally, some scenes may be involved with violence and depiction of townsfolk with weapons. Townsfolk with weapons, incorrect. However, there is at one point reference to drug use, and at another point Lurch and Grandma are on a balcony and I don't think this has ever happened before in previous versions, but there is a few times when the two balconies are used to kind of distract by what's happening down below as they change set pieces. And at one point, Grandma, who is Leslie Joseph, and Lurch, who is one of my favourite people in the whole world because every time I've seen the show he has been Lurch, and that is Dickon Goff, and I will talk more about him in my next video. But they are stood on one of the balconies suggesting that they are smoking how do we say this? They are smoking, but they are not smoking nicotine. I think I could probably say it a better way, but I'm not going to. They were smoking wow, can't get my teeth in. Smoking recreational drugs. Which was just an amusing thing to see in the side of stage. Saying all I did say with the help of AI in relation to content, there isn't anything majorly shocking. It is humorous. They do have a recommended age of 7+, or at least they did at the Hippodrome. I think that would be quite right, because certain jokes will go over the younger brain, I would assume, but at the same time there is discussion of torture, and there is a torture device on stage at one point. It is not used, but yeah, it's all in jest, it's all in comedy, nothing too traumatic. But I feel like if you're going to watch the Addams Family musical, you kind of know what kind of themes you're gonna get, right? If you don't know, I tend to write on my phone like little notes just to remind me of sound effects, and I did it for Act 1, didn't do it for Act 2. Mainly because, like I said, we had a show stop, and at that point my brain was like, you have done a full day of work and you're now going to the theatre and you need your bed. So I didn't write Act 2s down, and I actually only wrote Act 1s, or 2 for Act 1. First song, When You're in Addams, there is a bomb sound, and that is used very loosely. Pugsley has a line along the lines of, I can't remember what the end of the line is, to explode, and he pulls like a pin out of something and throws it off stage, and it goes boom. It's not loud, none of the sound effects used are particularly loud, and like I said, I kind of knew that they were coming. Accompanying that explosion sound is a flash off side of stage, so nothing majorly in your face, it's just a boom and a psh of light. There is also a sound of a crossbow shot being fired in the same song. That is fired by Wednesday. She has the crossbow ready, sings her line, crossbow is shot, something falls from down below to indicate it has been shot. That is pretty much that. Again, not a loud sound effect, nothing too like in your face. The only other thing I wrote down for Act 1 is that the end of Full Disclosure, it ends with wind sounds, thunder and lightning, storm, etc. sounds. There is also slight warning with this, because Festus says something along, one of his line to go just before it is something like, come on, we need to build some weather, and the ancestors move, the weather sounds get created, the door slams, and that is the end of Act 1. The Act 1 also ends in a blackout. Same with Act 2. But yeah, there is a few like storm, lightning, thunder sounds throughout, but none of them are majorly loud, and quite a few of them are built into songs, so that also kind of muffles it slightly. And I was also in row U in the circle, so I was a good distance away. And I feel like that is all I can say in relation to sensory things that could have / would have caused me worry if I went in for the first time. But as previously mentioned, and I shall mention it again, I have seen this show previously, so I kind of knew what I was getting in for from the get-go. But I couldn't say no to not going to see this whilst it was in Birmingham. But there we are, I'm finishing this video before I melt into a puddle, because it is so warm in the UK right now. Hopefully by the time this video goes live it is still warm, but if not, we've kind of aged this video in the July heat. But yes, that is it. I'm going to leave this video here and say thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed it, please tell your friends. If you haven't, keep stum. I don't know how I was going to finish that. But all that's left to say is the usual, and that is thank you so much for watching. I hope you come back next time. Obviously next video will hopefully be the review video for Addams Family, so stick around if you want to know my thoughts and feelings on the show. But all that's left to say is usual, cheers, so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen and goodbye. Bye.